What's up? I clicked the button and we're ready to start. Hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. I'm David Fisher. You probably know because my name's on the notification that you just clicked. But welcome to day 2, part 2 of Zen lessons that can help you sell more effectively. And I thought I had a really great subtitle. Here it is, How to Improve and Inspire Your Work. All right, so that's what we're looking at today. And wherever you are, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on recording, thank you for taking a few minutes to look at some tools that we can use to not only navigate challenging and uncertain times, which we most certainly are in, but also to make your business life more effective, to more effectively engage with prospects and clients. If you're running a business, to work not only in that business, but on your business more effectively, to work with your employees, with your partners, with your suppliers more effectively. That's what we're really looking at today. And hey, good morning, Katie. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. You've been one of the regulars. And thank you to all the regulars who have been joining me over the last couple of weeks. Just so you know, I am going live every day at 11:30 Central during this pandemic. We've been sheltering in place now in the Chicagoland area for this is week 5. So this is helping me stay a little sane, hopefully helping you stay a little sane, and also giving us some good information that we can work with as well. I've been talking about empathy building in the sales process. I've been talking about how to manage uncertainty, how to post on LinkedIn, how to create conversations. Sean, you're going to make me blush. Thank you, my good friend. And hey, Mike, good to see you. Glad you could join us. And so today we're continuing on this week's series, which is all about Zen lessons that you can use in your daily business and personal life. And if you caught yesterday, you'll know that I am no Zen master. I am simply a student. I've been using a lot of these tools in my own personal and professional life for almost 15 years now, and have found some tools that are really effective. And that's what we are going to be diving into during this week. Yesterday, we talked about the power of the way, and instead of separating ourselves from the path we're on, really embracing whatever path we are on and where we are at in that path, right? So instead of thinking to ourselves right now, oh my gosh, I got to wait till things get back to normal, which they might not. And the new normal is probably going to be a little different than you can imagine. Just thinking, hey, what we're involved with right now, this sheltering in place, this is part of the path. This is right where I'm supposed to be. And the more I can engage right now, the more effective I can be. Today, we're going to look at 2 concepts which are kind of tied together, and we could write a book about each of them individually. But I think there's a very powerful context that they provide when looked at together. And so that's what we're going to do. And so today I'm looking at 2 things in Zen. One is impermanence, and the second is non-attachment. And these 2 things separately, again, incredibly powerful. But when we combine them together, there's a way of kind of bringing almost a levity to your business experience, and I said to your personal life if you wish as well. But it makes things a lot easier and makes you much more responsive in the moment, and also, strategically long term. So let's look at these two things individually. So impermanence is pretty simple. It's the idea that things aren't permanent. And this is not necessarily just a Zen perspective or philosophy. This is actually a key part of a lot of Buddhist thought and through the last couple of millennia. And really, it's kind of looking at the question of, what is real? What is static? What is real? And what you figure out quickly is that a lot of things that we think are permanent aren't. Thank you, Sean. Zen Masters definitely blush. Again, I don't think I am one, but I'm glad that this is helping. So human beings, we're really wired to think that whatever we can see, feel, touch, whatever is right here, right now is permanent. And it's a very easy trap to fall into. But one of the places I would suggest you start looking is just kind of going, well, is your body permanent? Which you might think, well, of course it is. I'm 43 years old. It's at least 43 years old. But even think about it this way: the cells in our body die constantly. If you saw the number of how many dead skin cells slough off your body every day, there's a reason there's so much dust in our homes. That's like what it is. So there's always this process of regeneration, and I've seen different numbers as far as how long it takes the body to completely change, but it's 4, 5, 6, 7 years. But over the course of time, like, are you a new person because all of your cells are new? Are you the same person? Now, again, we could have a couple beers and talk about that for a night and maybe not even come up with an answer. But that's the kind of thing that you can start to think of and go, well, this idea of permanence is not necessarily as clear cut as we would like. And it calls into question, again, what is permanent? And this is not even, by the way, just a Zen thing or a Buddhist thing. There's a saying, mementi mori, which actually started from the Stoics, and Stoicism, very popular right now. Ryan Holiday's put out a couple of great books on this, has really popularized it. So the Stoics were in on this, around the early CE centuries, first, second century CE, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. It's a very, the Christian church really kind of adopted this idea. Mementi mori, by the way, if you don't know your Latin, it's a good thing I studied it for 4 years in high school, finally came in handy, is that remember that you will die. And so if you've ever seen my professional biography, my bio that's on my book, and if I do a speaking gig, it says I live next door to a cemetery. And literally, if you looked out that window, there's this huge cemetery. It's beautiful. There's rocks in it. It's like a park with stones. There's actually deer and coyotes and foxes and hawks. It's like a nature preserve. Go walking in there all the time. But it's also good for me to walk in there because it's one of Chicago's oldest cemeteries, because it was on the border of the edge of town in the late 19th century. And so there's people that have been buried there in the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s. And it's always been a wonderful reminder that I too will one day not be here. And so what happens is when we look at things that are not permanent, we actually are able then to go into the second thing I wanted to talk about, which was non-attachment. And non-attachment, now notice I'm not saying detachment, because in English, in our language, or at least the one that I'm speaking now, detachment has a very specific connotation, which is about divorcing from or being separate from. It's kind of like an active getting rid of something. Non-attachment is kind of a little more appropriate here, because what we're talking about is not getting attached to the current moment, to what's happening right now. And so when you actually put these two things together, you go, okay, well, things aren't permanent. Things are going to change. And in fact, I would argue that if you think something's permanent, you're actually just looking at it in maybe the incorrect time frame. Like, we might think our bodies are permanent because we're just seeing it moment to moment. But if we could see over the course of 100 years, most people die, except for this 104-year-old World War II veteran who just beat coronavirus, which is fantastic, but holy cow, that's badass right there. But over 200 years, nobody makes it out alive, right? Or if we think, wow, the United States is permanent. Well, that's because it's been like this for 200 plus years, but over the course of 500 years, not permanent, or thousands of years, right? So things that seem solid, seem permanent, often are not. And so that's why you don't get attached, because you realize that this too will change. And you've probably heard the saying, this too shall pass. That's kind of what we're talking about here, is understanding that this is going to change. So let's not attach ourselves and our identity and our emotions to this existing state. Because what happens is, if we identify with an impermanent state, if we get attached to things how they are right now, not acknowledging that things are going to change, that gets to be a problem, right? Whether it's we try to get attached to when things are on the upside or on the downside, they're both incorrect, right? Because those things are going to change. The kind of the story that I'll share that this kind of started creeping in to my mind was actually, I was relatively young, still selling Cutco cutlery. That's right, when I was in college. And it was my senior year. And at one point I was the number 6 sales rep in the company. Out of all the college students in the United States, I was number 6. I think it was about 18,000. I sold a lot of knives, and there's a scholarship I was going for. I won it. I was really excited. Helped pay for school. Very cool. But I remember getting the trophy like at our big sales contest. And I remember walking off and being like, oh, that's it? Like, I was like, well, wait, I got this big trophy. Like, I should feel like amazing. And don't get me wrong, it felt good. But I knew it wasn't going to last. And this is not an experience that is unique to me. Many people talk about hitting kind of the heights of their career, their industry, their profession, their personal life, and then realizing, oh, maybe it's not as, it doesn't have everything I need to be completely happy. And kind of conversely too, a lot of times people will will identify with the negatives. Like right now, the challenges that we have because of the coronavirus epidemic, because of what it's doing to the economy, it can be easy to attach to that. And so what I'm going to argue is that the goal, and the reason why I'm sharing this is the goal is to realize that the successes and failures that we have, big and small, are impermanent. And because of that, the less we can attach to them, the less we can put our ego into our wins or our ego into our failures, the more limber and agile we can be in our reactions. So I'm going to steal a meme here from the broader world right now and talk about flattening the curve. And I'm not talking about flattening, the curve of COVID-19, which is so critical. Please stay home. I think we're actually seeing some benefits of this, but that idea of flattening the curve of exponential growth is important. What I'm really talking about here is the curve of the up and downs that we experience in life. I think, and this is an opinion, you don't have to share it for sure, that we do ourselves a disservice when we feel that the only way to live a full life is to experience extreme emotion. And that is actually a very prevalent opinion. There's definitely that strain in our society that's like, hey, I think about love stories or like movies, romantic comedies. It's got to have huge highs and huge lows or else it's not really love. Okay. You talk to anybody who's been married for a good long time. Yeah, they'll talk about, yeah, those highs and lows kind of go away. You have to have kind of like, hey, can we just get along and get through this together, enjoying some of the positives, but also some of the negatives, but knowing that we're going to move forward as well. And so what I'm going to suggest is that we want to flatten that curve so that when we have the successes, we have the big wins, we get the big client. That's fantastic. Should you celebrate? Absolutely. But don't attach your ego and don't attach too much meaning to that. Because, if you're number one on the sales list or on the list of the sales team, there might be a time where you're not number one, right? And so think about this. If you're gonna be like, oh, I'm great because I'm here, does it mean that you're not great because you're not there? Now you flatten the curve. And kind of conversely, if you're in a slump, if you're dealing with the challenges that we're facing right now because of the coronavirus epidemic, I told this to somebody recently who's a small business owner and, has some employees, is like really kind of freaking out about the future, which I understand. But I told her, I'm like, you didn't make a bad decision. You didn't screw up. You didn't do things wrong. And then you're in a bad place. The whole world is here. The whole world's in this together. Right. And it wasn't necessarily meant to be like, hey, everything's going to be fine. I don't know if it will or not, but it was to take her judgment of herself, right? Because that's what we wanted to get rid of. And so the more you can kind of flatten the curve, again, you don't react to the negative and positive so much. I saw this on LinkedIn, and I don't remember who had posted this, but it was so true. It was a very good, it was a good Zen koan, if you will, a good Zen saying, and they weren't even trying to do it. But it was a paradox, and Zen loves paradox as well. And the paradox was simply this: we are not screwed. Everything is not fine. Those two things are okay, and they can coexist. And in the same way, when you realize that what we're going through is not permanent in the negative, and by the way, the wins that we'll have are not permanent. We don't have to attach to either of them. And it gives you the flexibility, I said, the agility to really respond in the moments, because you're not getting caught up with thinking with all the judgments that come, both good and bad. There's an interesting book written years ago called The Four Agreements. Not a Zen book at all. It was written by a Native American shaman from South America, Don Miguel Ruiz. Very interesting book, but he talks about, one of the four agreements he mentions is don't take things personally, meaning that it's not about you, right? And in the same way, what I'm talking about today is understanding that the world is not about you. It's really just in how you react to it. So you don't have to, again, react and just anchor to anything, because it's going to change. So that's what I want to share today. Realize that that this too shall pass, both good and bad. You don't have to identify completely with it and attach and anchor your ego to it. And when you kind of avoid that, you can feel good. You can feel bad. There are days you should just feel horrible right now. That's fine, or at least for moments. I spoke with my mother yesterday, and she's a wise woman. She's like, I'm just depressed today. It's been a tough day. I was like, cool. Like, not going, that's great that you're depressed, but it's, hey, congratulations, like, good for you for identifying it and going, hey, it's just for today, and things can change moving forward. So thank you for spending a little time with me today. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into another topic on how you can use Zen lessons to be more successful in your business. A couple quick things. If you, hopefully you're staying home. Even though it's tempting, I get it. Right now, we're 5 weeks in. Everybody's a little squirrely. Exponential growth goes down a lot slower than it goes up. And so I will say this, and this is sad that this has to be a political statement. Don't go outside tomorrow. Okay. Take care of yourself. If you have to go outside, obviously stay safe, but also say thank you to all the people who can't be at their desk watching a webinar or a LinkedIn Live. The mailman, the mailwoman, the delivery drivers, the cashier at Walgreens, the people that are stocking the grocery store shelves, the bus drivers, the train conductors, everybody who doesn't get the luxury of going, I don't want to go to work and I can still do things. I don't have to go to a physical place. I'm very grateful that they're there, and we have to take care of those people. That's maybe something for down the line, but say thank you to them. Just look at them and say, hey, thanks for coming to work today. They'll actually often respond a little strangely because they're not used to being thanked. And then you kind of see, they go, hey, thank you for saying that. So do that. And obviously thank any of the healthcare workers, the front line, that are trying to keep this insidious disease at bay and are putting their lives at risk every single day when they do it. So we have to be grateful to them for allowing us to do what we do. And if there's anything else I can do to help you, feel free to shoot me a message. I have a lot of content on my website. You just go to, I've got over 300 articles on sales, networking, marketing, professional development, some Zen stuff even. You can find that at davidjpfisher.com/blog. One of the things that, now that we've gone through the initial craziness of the shelter in place and we're trying to figure out how to keep business moving forward, if you know any companies, any organizations, your sales team, if anybody is looking for a speaker that can do virtual content and do it well, if I do say so myself, again, around the ideas of sales using social media right now, online networking, would love to talk to any audience right now. We've got very competitive rates. It's easy for me. I don't have to leave my house. So I'd rather be helping people make sure that they keep their business moving. And that's it. Thank you so much again. As I say at the end, be patient, be kind, take care of one another. I'll see you tomorrow, and yeah, have a great day. Bye, everyone.